dude, I'm reading this story about this guy named Jesus, and he would never do that.
Yeah.
He would never fucking do that. And yet all these people.
Yeah, I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Yeah, I told him I'ma hit it out of stands. I deserve another 100 bands. I deserve another 100 fans.
Welcome to another episode of the Married Game Podcast. We're the voice you trust when it comes to lust. We are who you hire when she lacks desire.
Good morning.
And if you're tired of living with guilt and shame, we got you here.
At Married Game.
At Married Game. Well done, Jesse.
Now I'm joining in.
That was like a duet. Okay. Guilt and shame seems to plague so many people. You, individualistically, are the only human being I've ever met that doesn't have guilt and shame. I don't know of anybody else.
I have mom guilt like all the time.
Okay, all right. I'm talking about
So
just
I guess I fit right in with the
Yeah,
human.
but you're...
I don't have religious guilt. Is that what you're saying?
You don't have religious
Yeah, no,
guilt.
I don't have that.
Okay.
At
So,
all.
here's the thing. I've been reading Jesus' words lately, and
like
in
that
the
for you.
Gospel of John. Do you know what the word gospel means?
Praise?
No, good news.
Oh, the gospel.
Yeah.
Okay.
The good news of Jesus Christ according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are the Gospels, the first 4 books of the New Testament. And so I've been reading John because I'm really intrigued by Jesus. You know what I'm so intrigued by Jesus? Not like Jesus, the Savior of the world. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Not sure about that. But the man who created a movement, who every city he went to, the religious authorities were trying to kill him, and he avoided them on many occasions. Dude, this is a guy to look into. Like, this is our guy.
I like when you teach me.
Yeah, well, he was.
Well, just so I know, I'm aware.
So here was happening. The Jewish community was under the Roman rule, so they could do what they wanted if they paid Romans the Rome Empire taxes, and so the Jews had this ruling council called the Sanhedrin. It was like 70 of these elders that would basically rule the people. They were like the government of the Jewish people. So this wasn't just like church today where you go, oh, fuck that pastor. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and so we're not going to go back there. The synagogue was the seat where everybody came together. It was the heartbeat and central focus point of their entire culture. And this ruling body, the Sanhedrin, was the law. And they could kill people if they wanted to. And they eventually did kill this guy named Jesus. So Jesus is out healing, and he's putting mud in people's eyes, and they're seeing, and he's telling people who had been lame for 38 years, couldn't walk, and he's like, hey, just get up and take up your mat and go, right? So This guy's healing people according to the book. And they go, oh, and then he's claiming, hey, my father sent me, and you don't even know my father. And they're like, well, who's your father? He's like, my father was basically talked to Abraham, basically saying he was himself God. And here's what fascinated me the most by reading these stories. He kept saying over and over again to his people that were following him, his disciples, that were like believing in his miracles and who he said he was. And he talked about, my peace I leave with you, like deep peace. He said, I'm teaching you these things so that your joy might be overflowing. He talked about the one way that they're going to know you're my disciples is by your love for one another. Joy, peace, love. Like, he's like, these are going to be the earmarks of people knowing that person must hang out a lot with Jesus. Crazy, right? Because when you think of like Christians today, joy, peace, love is not exactly what you would describe them as. No. In fact, you'd think shame, stress, not good enough, guilt, and it's just interesting. So I'm reading his words because I'm not interested in what man says about Jesus. I just what did Jesus say? Let's hear what this guy had to say. Let's look at his life. And so you don't have a lot of guilt or shame.
No.
None that I've ever met. And
not religiously.
And the way that you say it is you're like, so time out a second. You believe there's a man in the sky that's mad at you? It's like, well.
Like the invention of lying, the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's genius.
I set all that up to simply say this. Most people carry around a tremendous amount of religious guilt and shame. And most people in their marriages feel guilt and shame, and they're showing up in their sexuality towards their partner with a lot of guilt and shame. They show up to sex with guilt and shame. And yet, you and I have always been drawn towards joy, love, peace as a couple. Like, it's who we are. Like, if there's a guy on stage and he's talking about war and death and die, and we just go,
That doesn't resonate with me.
Doesn't really do much for me.
It doesn't move me.
Doesn't move me. But to think you can live this one life radically fulfilled. Jesus, his words again was, this is how he said it. I came to give you life, and life more abundantly. The abundance is the exact opposite of a scarcity. And yet, Christians typically have a very scarce view of damn near everything.
Wow, they've like ruined everything.
So I'm
it's like the opposite of the good book, right?
Exactly. So I'm like, dude, you guys have all fucked this up really bad. Like, how have you not understood how important it was for Jesus to be like, hey, this is the good news. He said, I've come down from heaven to die for your sins and to be the Lamb of God and be a sacrifice for you. Whether he was right or not, I don't know if we'll ever know. But dude, I really dig this joy, love, peace, life. And then he made a mention of the enemy, whoever that is, Satan, devil, bad people. They come to rob, steal, and destroy. Rob your joy, steal your joy, destroy your joy. And most people get or give advice from this robbing or stealing or holding in of joy. And so the Christian religion looks radically unattractive to me because of how they show up. But this figurehead, Jesus, is really attractive to me. And I set all that up because you and I lean towards that. And we
Towards joy.
Towards what is it like to have joy? I don't want to argue with you.
Right.
I don't want to be disconnected with you. I don't want to always constantly be in a battle or competition or a fight with you.
With me,
Where did this come from you? Because you didn't come up with any religious background at all.
what are you asking specifically? What did what come up with?
How did you come up with this? Like, I want joy, I want peace, I want love. Because that's like who you are as a human. Like, you embody that.
I don't know. When we fight, or I don't like it.
Yeah.
I want peace. I love when people are laughing, having a good time. I don't know. I don't know where I came up with it, but I just always felt like that. I don't have that shame or guilt religiously, so I want to be happy.
Yeah.
What?
You look like you were about ready to say something before I clarified it, and then so I was waiting for you to get back to that.
No, what I was gonna say specifically is that you said that you don't want to have that war with me, but I don't want you to have that war all day and then come home and bring home that war, and that stress and that angst. I want you to feel at peace all the time as well. I want you to come home and be like, I slayed that buffalo and I got it, and just excited about what you did, and not like, where's my meat now? And, you know, and have all that angst and anxiety in you.
I think every guy wants to come home to a house of peace. Our house is so peaceful.
Extremely. Except the animals at times. But,
Well, yeah. And
but that they also bring a lot of joy.
they do bring a lot of joy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your cats don't bring me that much joy.
They bring me a lot of joy,
but they
which
bring
brings you joy.
They bring you a lot of joy, which
There
brings
you
me
go.
joy. What have
Don't talk
you
about my cats.
What have you done? You got one rebellious cat and one retarded cat. The retarded cat's so cute, though. No, he's more like a
munchkin.
He's a munchkin, yeah. And he's got some
Smart.
weird ass ears, but he's really cute.
He's adorable.
He's so cute. What have you done to create that peace? Because I know there's a lot of dudes out here, and there's some women listening, but ultimately, guys want peace. This is kind of almost like a piggyback to they don't want a savage queen.
Yeah.
Unless they're addicted to drama and war and emotional and very the guys who lose their emotions I don't watch any of their stuff anymore. It just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, we said a long time ago, guys who like feel the need to yell and come at someone and kind of punk them in a way, that's the least masculine man, because he's coming from a place of insecurity and scared and all this shame and guilt that his dad put on him, right? And then he does that to his children or his wife and so to me, that's a really not a mature masculine man. And when you come from this place of just, you know who you are and you're doing your best every day and you're just so secure in your family and your wife, and then, you know, and you have a disagreement, you still stay strong. And you talk through things and you think through things, and you don't feel the need to, you know, put her down.
You know, I want to talk about a topic that might be interesting that I said we weren't going to talk about, but I actually do want to talk about it in light of guilt and shame, and that is masturbation. It just dovetails so perfectly.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of dudes that, and I used to be this guy, that anytime I would self-pleasure,
Okay.
I would feel so guilty. And yet...
Well, you've been a lot of different men in that area. You've had a lot of different views in that area.
God, that
given
is so
the time
true.
in your life.
That's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I found as just a really gray-haired, grizzlied man at this point is a lot of the stuff was societal put on me, and there should, you know, what is the problem with masturbation?
Well, my view on it is that I don't have a problem with it, you doing it or me doing it. Actually, the new, like, there's a couple of like feminine people I like to follow, you know, and they talk about like finding yourself out, because then you could express that to your partner better, which I think that's wonderful too. That, you know, the times you've had with yourself, you can tell me what you like and we do it. So I just have a problem with it overtaking your sexual relationship in your marriage or partnership. Because if you do that all the time, then if you don't have enough to give your wife, that would be sad. And that's when I would have a problem.
Yeah. I don't masturbate hardly ever anymore, because I like the build up and then the release with you.
Yeah.
It's way better. And that takes control, takes self-control. Be like, yeah, I'm super horny, but I'd rather wait and eat later. The best analogy I heard from a pastor who was actually really filled with joy. He's one of my examples as a guy who filled with joy. Not very many of them, but this one was. And he talked about, you know, if you're out eating fast food or sugar and candy a lot, you're not gonna have an appetite for the real meal when you get home. To me, that would be the problem. You know, with masturbation, it's like, well, dude, if you release, like every guy I know, once they release, they want to eat a sandwich or they want to go to bed.
Yeah.
And is it that way for women?
No, not typically.
Is it? Do you get tired after a release or anything like that? No, it's just like, hey, I got one.
I do after like sex, like after, you know, the whole activity.
Got it.
Yeah. And it's like, whew.
So there's a lot of guilt and shame around that particular activity of masturbation, and yet I wonder why. Is it because it's done alone?
I don't know. I used to feel some type of way about it when early in our relationship. I felt some type of way of it when I was younger too, like my boyfriend's doing it, but I was like, well, I'm not going to say anything. It's not a big deal. I'd rather them do that than go outside of the relationship when I was younger. And then in our relationship, I still felt some type of way about it, but I was like, well, like, what's the big deal? Now I have no feelings about it. It's just, you just do if you want to feel like that, because it hasn't been a problem in our relationship, our newer relationship.
Yeah. I was in Costa Rica with my buddies surfing, and did I tell you the story?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was in Costa Rica. I think I was on gummies the entire trip. I took 1,200 milligrams
You don't
with
think
me.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, there may have been some moments I wasn't, but
When you woke up.
yeah. And I remember we went out and had this amazing surf in the morning. It was incredible. We came back to the hotel, and we're like, all right, hey, let's meet up in like a couple hours. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go enjoy myself in my room alone. And they kind of looked at me like, huh? I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna go touch yourself? Like, I'm gonna be away from Jesse for 4 or 5 days. I'm gonna
you're on vacation.
I'm getting this thing on.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't feel any shame or embarrassment. I was just like, it's like, hey, do you take a shit?
Yeah.
That's more disgusting.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it smells. You don't want to get it. So it's like, what are and one of the things we like to think is like, well, why do you think the way you think? Mm-hmm. Why do you believe what you believe? Is your conditioning so deep that you can't see any other way? Well, you and I have just been challenging those things for a long time, not because anybody believes it. In fact, we don't look at anybody and be like, what do they believe?
Yeah.
But so many of the things that we have come to believe that we, hey, pleasure yourself. Oh, that's such a, I mean, I didn't pleasure myself from my entire being 15 years old because I thought God was looking down at me and mad at me for doing that. To where now I look and I go, I don't know. I don't want to be blasphemous, but like I bet you whoever created us is like, well done, man. Aren't you glad that your hand reaches that? Like that would be a real fucking problem if you had to like be the splits to do that. Mm-hmm. So these things that set us free from guilt and shame are things that have helped us create a relationship where there's not a lot of guilt and shame, and there's a lot of joy. Mm-hmm. I think we're optimizing that what you and I have experienced is optimizing for joy, optimizing for peace, optimizing for how do you feel loved.
You asked me a question and then skipped over it, but I want to go back to that. That you asked me how I find peace or why am I so peaceful now?
Yeah, I do want to know that.
Is because I've put a lot of work into me, into like, for example, say we fight, like I really try to hold space. I really try to stay calm, talk about what I'm frustrated with. Sometimes things escalate.
You call
obviously.
that calm? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm messing.
But I've done a lot of work on myself to know the things that trigger me, that bother me, to come to you with trying not to have all this backstory, like all the therapy sessions with you, to have the peace consistently. It means a lot to me to keep the peace. Keep the peace for us, and then that trickles onto Jovi, which is a big deal for me and a huge motivation to stay peaceful.
When you say keep the peace, there's a lot of people-pleasing tendencies that I used to have in the past that I would think, oh, keep the peace means that you won't bring up any disagreements, you won't
I'll tell
disagree.
You specifically how then.
But you do stand up for yourself.
Yeah, and I used to want to say, and even I catch myself wanting to say things an old way of saying things, or how my mom still says things to me, and I've learned to be like, ooh, I can hear her doing it. I don't want to do that. So it's like, pick up your shit, right? Like I want to talk like that. That's how I was raised. Pick up your shit. Why do you leave your shit around? I just cleaned the kitchen, you know? Like I want to talk like that. But I'm like, this is where the inner work comes in. This is where the peace comes in. To keep the peace is where I'm like, do you guys mind cleaning up after yourself? I just cleaned the kitchen. Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I just ask.
Yeah.
Instead of having all this backstory, like I said, all this, the way I grew up, all this backstory of like, he never does this. How the fuck do I have to tell him the third time in a row, you know? I let all that go because it's not a big deal. Those things aren't a big deal. I just say, hey, do you mind doing that? To Jovi, hey, do you mind cleaning up your mess? Yeah, no problem. Everybody's peaceful all the time, right? So it's taken a lot of inner work to know what I did wrong and how I said things, and to say them a lot nicer. And to, if I have an issue, you said I stick up for myself, is to bring it up to you in a way that you'll hear me. And I'm not the best at it, but I'm really trying. And I think that helps keep the peace. We're going to have things that bother each other.
What I felt when you were like, hey, pick this up. I just cleaned the kitchen. You know what I kind of felt was like that person seems like they're always ready to pick a fight. Why? But
Yeah.
most people talk like that, by the way, and that's how most spouses talk to each other.
I know.
It's almost like they're always angry.
Well, probably because they are, because they're with that person all the time. Like,
okay, that's
why
fair.
do I tell him I put his stinky underwear on the floor? Like, I've told him a million times to put it in there. Like, it does get frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's where your partner needs to come in and be like, she did tell me all the time, this is my shit, I'm going to clean it up. So it really takes two, an accountability, right? But, and you know, most of the world, the women is, you know, picking up after him most of the time. And it gets really frustrating. And then that's the mom matrix. And then here comes, you know, that same pattern.
So it's
So
like
you're angry,
the
yes,
pattern
all the
just
time.
the pattern creates the environment. Like
But it's also generational is what I wanted to say.
What do you mean?
Well, like my mom talks like that. Her dad talked to her terrible. And then my mom talked to me a little bit better, right? And she still does it. She's like, are you going to get off your ass and help me now? Like, yes, Mom, I will. Like, I just let it go and I laugh it off. And I don't think she means anything by it. It's just the way she talks, too. It's just the way it comes out of her so sarcastically and passive aggressive. And I laugh it off.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. But I know I can hear it. Or, you know, kids. Jovi sometimes does it. Not even half as aggressive as that. But I'm like, do you want me to get you these? Like, what did I even say this morning? I said, do you want this to eat or something? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yes, Mama. Like, yes, please, thank you. Like, it just,
like
I can
you're
hear
teaching
it.
her how to communicate in a way that people
Absolutely.
like to be communicated with.
And then her husband, and then her children. But that helps keep the peace. To turn it all back into that,
Yeah, it really does.
Helps keep the joy, helps keep the peace, is the way you talk to people. In our household, I like to talk to each other very nice. When my mom's like, oh, you guys just talk like, you know, news people, or I don't know what she says, but I'm like, yeah, we do.
We like have a conversation as if you were somebody I wanted to show the deepest respect and love to.
Yes.
As opposed to, oh, well, we're behind closed doors and nobody sees us, so hey, fucker.
Like, I'm not going to be nicer to the supermarket people than my own family. And that's how it usually is.
That is how it is with almost everybody.
You're nicer to strangers than the people you actually love.
What the fuck's
no,
up with that,
I'm
dude?
changing that.
That's some bullshit.
It is. That's an old way of thinking, right? Where you're super nice to strangers. But I'm going to be super nice to you guys because I got to live with you. And you have to live with me.
Well, and it's also your reputation with yourself.
Yeah.
Am I a total bitch to the people I love, or would the people that know me the most go, that's such a great human being. Man, I love being around that human being.
Yep. I actually, this morning, I had a conversation with my mom, as I do every single morning. So it's not nothing new. But I was saying that, you know, after my brother's death, that a lot of people can get angry or retreat in, and I did for a little bit. But then I decided that, you know, everyone has somebody that dies in their life. But I want to be known and walk around as someone who gives joy and lifts people up. And I'm the light for people. I want to be the people around me. So I'm making that decision to always give joy, be what?
I was listening.
Oh, to give joy, to always be the light where I can. That means the most to me. Like, I'm not going to be angry because of something. Like, I'm angry at the situation. It's a sad situation. It's frustrating. But I want to go and be known as just this joyful person. Like, I want people like Jovi to be like, you know, for her kids to be like, we want grandma to live forever, you know, and
Yeah.
she's so awesome, you know. I want that, so I'm working on that.
It's like I can see you saying to Jovi, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you,
I'm
Jovi.
Jesus?
You're pretty much Jesus.
Woo!
You're pretty much Jesus. Well, what's interesting about Jesus is he wanted them to act like him,
Oh, wow.
which that's a great leader. He's like, just say, hey, follow me. I'm the way. Just follow this way. Here's the way.
Yeah.
Treat people with love and kindness. And if they're ripping people off, fuck them up.
Oh, all right.
That's basically Jesus' motto.
I'm here for it. I like that.
Give people love, but if they're ripping people off, especially in the name of God, fuck them up. Mm-hmm. I think right now, like, have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Joel Osteen?
Yes.
He's got the big church in Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. I think he'd be one of the first people Jesus would say, fuck you.
Well, I heard a lot of negative things about him.
Well, dude, these guys fly in private jets and have big, massive houses, which I think is amazing. Except, do you know how they get them?
Other people's money.
Yeah, but do you know how they get the people to give them the money?
Say it's for God?
Well, there's like this one concept called tithing. Yeah, the offerings and tithing.
Yeah.
They, which is interesting. It was the Bible talks about giving 1/10 of what you have, but he told that to the children of Israel. That was their taxation system. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with giving it to a church or anything like this. But the Christian pastors have made it give it to, like, it's these people all should be put in prison. Any pastor of a local church that takes tithes from people are criminals, in my opinion.
Stealing.
Yeah, they're stealing. But here's the interesting thing. He and a bunch of other guys, and I think it's Channel 40, Trinity Broadcasting Network. It's like the only Christian channel like on TV. I don't know if it's even still around or anything, but they would say, if you send us money, it's like the seed being buried in the ground, and God is going to bless you tenfold, 100-fold because you give. So
what a manipulation tactic.
These guys should be put in prison and raped forever.
Wow.
They're that horrible of human beings. They are the worst fucking scumbags on planet Earth. That is who Jesus turned the tables over, and he goes, you've turned my house of prayer into a den of thieves. Joel Osteen and all these other pastors are the biggest scum-sucking pieces of horse shit on planet Earth. And I get a little fired up about it because, dude, I'm reading this story about this guy named Jesus, and he would never do that.
Yeah.
He would never fucking do that. And yet all these people, so they're like, sow your seed into our ministry, and you're going to be, you're going to get 10-fold, 30-fold, 100-fold, whatever fold, just lots of folds. And you're going to be blessed and enriched.
You know what it sounds like to me? You know how kids have to unlearn bad behavior? Like kids go, well, I'm going to tell your mom if you don't give me your toy.
Yeah.
That's like what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, man.
And they're like using that power against him. Like it just sounds like a behavior you need to unlearn.
You know what I think is going to happen in the next 100 years? I'm going to make a prediction, even though I'm not a prophet or son of a prophet, but because I'm really
son of a prophet.
I am a son of a prophet. I'm digging this Jesus,
Aren't
dude.
we all, though,
I'm digging this Jesus a lot, man. Like, I believe in the next 100 years, there will be no more churches on the corners, that the people will wake up and go, oh, these pastors are full of shit. And and they're going to turn back and probably see this Jesus guy and go, look at this guy. Look at this guy. He didn't talk about any of this shit. And he was the most angered at the religious leaders of his day. Because they were fleecing the people. What they would do is they'd be like, people would bring up their lambs. They would raise their lambs and bring them as offerings to God at the temple. And they would go, that lamb's not going to work. You're going to have to buy this lamb, and it would be like 5 times as expensive. So they were just ripping these people off, just taking all their money and just fucking them over. This is what would happen. And Jesus walked in, he's like, fuck you guys. Put a whip together, started whipping people, turned over the table, threw the money all over, and ran the animals out of the fucking temple.
That's a story?
That's his story.
Oh, wow.
This is his story. This is why I'm like, I like this guy, dude. This guy's a joy-filled guy. He's helping lepers. You know what a leper is?
I've heard that, but what is it?
Okay, so a leper in biblical times, there was some sort of skin disease that would eventually eat your limbs off. It was
leprosy.
I wonder if leprosy was just what they called diabetes back then. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not
just some basic
I'm not an expert
disease,
on leprosy, clearly.
Right.
I'm not an expert on fucking anything, except I know Jesus got mad at a lot of shit, and it's the same stuff that I get mad at. So I'm with Jesus. All y'all can fuck off.
Remember we cheers to Jesus?
Cheers to Jesus.
We went
dude.
out this weekend.
Cheers, to Jesus.
To Jesus.
Thank
we
you,
love that guy.
thank you, Kristen. Yeah. Cheers to Jesus. So
that was so funny.
he was so he was watching these people get ripped off, but he would look at these people with leprosy, and nobody would touch a leper because it was considered to be contagious. And he would walk up and he would just love them and hold them and tell them, like, these people haven't had human touch their whole life.
No.
And Jesus, like, he must have been a badass. He's like like the guy that would eat food off the floor, like you drop a fry and say, fuck it, just eat it. That was Jesus. In my opinion, that's Jesus.
I like Jesus.
I do too. I do too. And so, but man, talk about a guy full of joy and peace and love and abundance.
And stuck up for himself and others.
And that's what I want to be like Jesus.
I love that.
I don't want to be anything like modern day Christians or pastors. But boy, do I want to be like Jesus.
Well, I love when you have that peace and joy and give and come from abundance. That makes me happy.
Yeah. I think it's the way of man. It's the way it should be. It's a better natural state. But clearly there's not always times of peace. There's evil people that are trying to subjugate good people, and good people have to stand up and go, hey, guess what? Go fuck yourself. So that's the nature of life, I suppose. So one of the things that we used to think of that we don't think of the same way anymore is about masturbation, self-love, self-care, self-pleasure, whatever. Hey, if it feels good and you want to do it, fucking do it. If as long as it's not hurting, and as long as it's not taking away your appetite from your beloved. I think that's where a lot of guys get trapped, especially with the client that we work with. They are in a sexless or damn near sexless relationship. You know what's really sad? Not that I want to rant, because I don't want to rant.
Well, I just want to say that nothing's black and white. That's why there's always like it's fine unless it becomes a thing, a big thing, right? It's overtaking your life.
You know what I found? That most people who believe in black and white stuff, it's not even really black and white. It's what they've been conditionally grown up to believe is black and white.
Ooh.
Oh, let me give you an example.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Let me give you an example. This is one that I know the Christians so well, so I'm not trying to bash on them. But let me just say what if you don't go to church, in a lot of Christians' mind, it's like, what? What? And yet, that's an American adaptation of what a book written 2,000 years ago says. It has not, like, what we see as church today is nothing like what it was ever meant to be.
I actually had a boyfriend, and I was staying with him for an in-between period in my life. I was really young, and his parents are like, well, if she doesn't go. And I actually went with him when I was a kid too. We were friends then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just would go for the fun of meeting people. I just went like a few times. Well, then I was staying with him, and they said if you guys don't go, and she can't stay here anymore. I ended up not staying there anymore.
Yeah, because you're like, fuck this.
I was like, I'm not gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. and I guess
So
what's
that's
crazy,
a societal norm that Christians think, oh, you're not listening to God by not going. It's like, yeah, but except that doesn't say that anymore.
Well, like me personally, as a person, they like loved me. I knew them for years. Like we got along. They were wonderful people, but they just let that overtake that.
Yeah.
And that was it. So
yeah, like they couldn't see anything else. I'll tell you another one that was that's very personal in my life. The Christian community has really vilified divorce, and I don't know if it's Christians exclusively that have vilified divorce, but I think divorce fucking sucks.
you would know.
I would know. Went through it as a kid. Experienced divorce before you. You and I almost said it was like done. Well, we did say it was done forever, but like that was almost a thing.
My parents got divorced after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
That was difficult.
And
even at that age.
And yet, when I was growing up in the church and I started following a really zealous sect of the Christians, my mom got a divorce, and I never forgave her. Like no, that's not true. I did forgive her.
But
after I kind of came to my senses, I go, what the fuck is going on around here?
Yeah, towards like the end of her life.
Yeah, but before that, I was just like, oh my God, you're going to hell. You can't talk to another person. How did you do that?
That's so sad.
Not realizing like how life really actually operates.
Obviously.
And what I'm seeing, I'm gonna make another prediction.
So that's the black and white you're talking about.
Yes, these are these.
So that's something your mom and dad have instilled in you, and then you turned around and used it against her.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Dude,
that is so sad.
You're telling me, man.
I think that's why I feel so strongly about like judging, is because there's this book people follow, right? And they take one little nugget, one little thing that the society has ran with, and they make such a big deal about it. They're like, that was said one itty bitty time. Mm-hmm. What about all this other thing? So then people choose their sin. I'll choose a sin, you choose a sin, we all choose a sin. But I'm judging your sin you chose.
Get your sin here.
It's like...
Yeah.
Why are you judging my sin? You're sinning in this way. It's like, it's crazy. So
it is
that's
asinine.
why I just stay like far away from
Do
all
you
that.
know the book that teaches and shares more stories about polygamy than any other book in the world?
Is it the Bible?
The Bible.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. And they're like, stay with your one person
All
forever.
these biblical heroes that guys love, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all these dudes.
Had multiple wives?
Multiple.
That would just be exhausting.
But
you know?
here's what's interesting to me. Of course, dude. Like,
Just
who's
be
got time for all?
exhausted. No, I don't have
When
no
you
time.
watch those Mormon shows with the, what's it called? Wife Club or something?
Yeah, sister wives.
Sister Wives.
Yeah, I love
that
those.
guy looks like he's being ran
Well, yeah,
ragged,
they all
dude.
left him except the newer one.
Oh my God. Anyway,
That's why I love reality shows.
I don't think any guy wants multiple wives, but that's just my opinion. That's a totally
Maybe
opinion.
Maybe
but
two.
Here's
that's
what's
it.
interesting. Here's the most interesting thing is you've got this book that every main character in the first half of the book all had multiple wives. And they were loved and beloved by God.
Well, if I had to make a bunch of children, I'd be like, hey, can I get a sister wife up in here?
No shit, dude. Yeah.
This is really difficult. I need help.
Yes. You need
I can't
more
create
boys.
all these babies.
Yeah, you need more boys to hold swords
I
and
want
more
a friend
boys
around. There's nobody within like miles and miles. I'm like, can I get some friends up in here?
Of course, dude.
I for sure would have done that then.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just making bread with my friend.
Yeah.
Like, that'd have been awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Making bread with your
Churning that butter with my friend.
You'd be rubbing her ass and being like, this is like kneading banana bread.
Girls are beautiful.
The women are so beautiful. We love you guys.
This has gone awry now.
It has gone, but I'm making a point. Not a very funny one, but I think a poignant one, and that is, so the first half of this book is all about these dudes who have multiple wives, and God loves them. Just loves them. And then you get to the second half of the book, and it doesn't really talk about monogamy at all, except in one little place. One little place, it says, if a dude is going to be an elder in the church, he should be a one-woman man.
That's it?
That's it.
The whole time?
That's the whole fucking thing. Now, there is...
What happened to all that polygamy?
Dude, I don't know. But I do know this, that it talks about a man loving his wife, but it never says that he couldn't have multiple wives. And yet all the heroes from thousands of years past, they all had multiple wives. And it was, so like, was God mad at them? When did God change his mind?
There's a lot of people in hell.
Has God changed his mind? Mm-hmm. And yet, but I say that's another thing that Christians get really hung up on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you and Jesse could have sex with another girl in your same bed? We can't listen to anything you say about marriage.
Yeah.
Well, you guys fucking listen to Solomon. Wait, hold on. You got to understand who Solomon is.
I do?
You need to.
Okay.
Solomon had 300 wives
Oh, shit.
and 700 concubines. or 700 wives and 300 concubines.
How do you do that? You only see like one per every 5 years?
Well, a lot of times wives were given in
An offering?
Well, it was
I'm serious.
More like an alliance.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, your tribe and my tribe, I'm going to send my daughter over to you guys. They marry, and then that way the two tribes kind of become at least alliances of each other, which then could, fight off those bigger tribes so we don't all die.
So one didn't say, I have 500 wives. You can choose another one. No, they just take them all.
A guy would, I've got 6 daughters, and he would give them away for a dowry. A dowry is like, I'll give my wife away. You give me her dowry, because she would do things. I mean, every human being was valuable back in these tribes. They couldn't just be like, we're all sitting around the house. Hey, pull out your phone and order us food so it can come on the front door and we can all run and get it and eat. It was like, hey, did you milk the cows this morning? Yeah, I did. Well, what about your sister? Nah, she was out there fucking around in the creek again, skipping stones. Well, shit, we don't have, milk for this morning because we need, or what, what I'm saying?
That didn't happen.
Yeah, so
your ass would have been working.
There was so they were valuable. So to a man, his daughters were extremely valuable. He could trade them off to another man for a dowry. That way, if this man ever disrespected her, ever did anything wrong to her, she could come back to her father's house and she would be protected and provided for because of that dowry. So there was a lot of advantageous and money being transacted over this thing. Okay? So the book Song of Solomon in the Bible. This is the deepest Bible podcast we've ever had.
Well, they've already turned us off.
They're like, oh my God, fuck these guys. All right. And the people that really think they know the Bible are going to be like, that's not right. And what about this? And what about that?
Go read it then.
Yeah, it don't matter. I've already read it.
Yeah.
I know it. It doesn't, our narrative doesn't fit a lot of what their narratives are. But the book, like the most salacious, tantalizing, sassy, spicy, sexy book in the entire Bible.
Always number one.
No, well, yeah, probably. It's called the Song of Solomon. Solomon was David's son, who had multiple wives, and then Solomon, he was the guy with 700 wives and 300 concubines, or 300 wives and 700. I can't remember the number, but regardless, that's the book that they read to learn about sex. So map this with me. You've got these people that love this book, that 99% of the book talks explicitly about polygamy. The dude,
it's the guide on polygamy now.
the dude that was probably more polygamous than any other guy. He was also the richest man to ever live, and he was the wisest man to ever live.
Solomon?
According to the records. I'm using air quotes. He wrote this book called Song of Solomon about this man and this woman. And Christians go to that like the go-to, like, this is how you learn how to love your wife. You're like, oh, from a dude that had 300 wives or 700 wives? That's the guys you're learning from? So I'm just saying, like, the hypocrisy, I don't want to say idiocy, because they're not idiots. They're just
what they're told.
They're just believing what they're told,
Yeah.
and they're trying to not believe what they're told because they want to think they're unique. Everybody wants to think they're unique.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to think this way. I can't believe what these people believe because of the sheer lunacy of the back and forth. If they'll pick what they think, what they're actually picking is Christian Victorian morals set down by Queen Elizabeth for various reasons we won't get into. And they go, this is what the Bible says. It's like, actually, that's not what it says. So
the amount of messages that we get or people that we coach, why do you pick them for your coach? Or, they're not religious, and you are, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, obviously, listen to this podcast and you know the whole book forwards, backwards, all the things.
Yeah. The bottom line is we're just two lost souls in a fishbowl.
I love that song.
How's that go? Is that what I say?
Yeah. Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're pretty much just listening to Pink Floyd and living our life.
I wore Rolling Stones for you.
Yeah, you did. I like it.
Thank you.
So peace, joy, love. That's what we're after. Mm-hmm. And
Girls just want to have fun.
Girls just want to have fun. You're the most non-religious person I've ever met, but you still have a traditional kind of Americana upbringing in terms of like being a supportive wife, not trying to be a savage queen and steal all my shine, like being a teammate, but also understand, hey man, the buck kind of stops with this dude, and like, but you're supporting me to go out and kill the buffalo. But the same thing, you're at home making this place peaceful and a place where I can come back and go, ooh, this feels good to be here. I love being here. I would rather be here than pretty much anywhere else. And I think that's the goal. That's been our goal. Maybe that's not everybody's goal.
I just want peace and love and joy.
Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to create it with you.
With you. All right. Well, there you have it. There is... You guys didn't know that the pastor of Pussy also used to be a pastor, and had a pretty good understanding of the ancient scripture, and there you have it. So with that being said, don't be a nerd. Spread the word. Send it to, you know who I'd love for you guys to send this to? Send this to your religious friends that know the Bible really well, but suffer deeply from DDS.
They should know what that is by now.
Well, if they don't, what is it, Jesse?
Dry dick syndrome.
Dry dick syndrome. If you got dry dick syndrome, go to marriedgame.com. There you go.
Yeah.
If you know the scriptures and you love them, I'm happy for you. The scriptures want you to be filled with joy, filled with peace, filled with love. And my guess is they don't want you to be full of cum, because God says that you and your wife should be fucking a lot.
Ooh,
and therefore,
better listen to him.
You better listen to him.
Or you're sinning.
You're either winning or you're sinning. And if you're coming, then you're grinning. All right. Well, hey, we both have a smile, hence we're twinning. With that being said, have an amazing day. Keep crushing it. That shit is contagious.